Good morning, good afternoon, good evening across the country, around the world. Welcome back to the Kerbal Space Program. I was just looking at my space center a moment ago, and the astronaut complex for 37,500. Right now I can only have 5, and they can only disembark or EVA on Kerbin, but if you upgrade, EVAs and you can plant flags. So we're going to do that because we're going to send somebody into orbit. This way he can do an EVA in space. We're going to send him up there with some science as well. Alright, so Mark 1 command pod. We're just going to orbit Kerbin. Yeah, I mean, I could probably take, let's see, lose that, load. All the stock, that's annoying. Escape 1? No, it was orbital Mark 1, load. Yes, because this guy had plenty of Delta V. Yeah, this guy had loads of Delta V. I was left over with extra Delta V. But we're going to add some science. So go to utility, grab the quad core, slap that guy on there, and then we're going to, like I said, throw in some science. Which is this? 200? 100? Oh, yes, good. Sorry. Science! So we're going to have the magnetometer. Yeah, we can do mystery goo. Q. Yes. Orbital telescope. Haven't done this yet, and this one is what's it called? That one is biome based too. So every biome you fly over, you can send new things. Temperature. No, we'll take a science junior. There's not really any temperature or pressure to measure up there. It'll just say really cold. All right, so we got those guys. We can slap that guy back on there again. Yeah, we'll keep the radial parachutes because those will help make sure things stay alive. It's a little bit heavier. Yeah, we lost some Delta V, but that's fine. We had so much left over last time. It was ridiculous. But this ship should do pretty well at getting us there. I do think I want... Yes, I want to stick an antenna on here somewhere. Comms, yes. And actually, to keep things symmetrical so the ship doesn't wobble, we'll slap one here, and then it's on the other side as well. Oh, that's interesting. Kind of floating there. Anywho, that way I can scroll back. That way I can transmit most of these, aside from the Science Junior. The magnetometer you can transmit for full. Mystery Goo you can't. Orbital telescope you can transmit for full. Didn't have that. Okay, so half of them I can transmit for full value back. And that's great. So, with this build, like I said, solid rocket separates, main stage burns up, and then our Terrier and this guy should help us finalize our orbit and get things set. Who do we have? Jeopardai, he's at 1 star, which is cool, but we're actually going to take Valentina. Probably one of the next episodes. Well, no, once I get the 3-person command pods, then I'm going to flesh out my, what's it called? Flesh out my stock of Kerbins using custom Kerbals. A little cheaty because I'm not buying them, but still, it's fun to name them. Orbital Mark 2. Aye. Yeah. Let's go. Save and launch. Alright, so we're going to double check our staging real quick. Launch clamps and the solid rocket boosters. Yes. And they've got a good thrust weight ratio. That's excellent. Then those guys separate. We fire up this guy at full throttle. That'll also have a decent thrust weight ratio. Not tremendous, but decent. And then we get into space. Yeah, cool. Launch the Terrier, eventually separate, and fall back down. Yeah, I think we have enough. Ooh. If not, well, we'll revert and add some more thrust somewhere. Alright, so let's go ahead and turn on stability assist. Throttle doesn't matter, but I wanted it full throttle for when we do launch the solid rocket booster. And away we go. So again, up to about 100 meters per second, which I think is going to work out pretty close to about 1,000 meters. We'll pitch over to the east, go for about a 10 or 15 degree angle, and that'll start our gravity turn. If I was flying with Jebediah, I'd have a little more controls, and I could just get it turned over, and then press prograde, and it would stick to the prograde marker, and it would actually follow you up, or follow the prograde up really well, and do a nice gravity turn all on its own. But we're not there yet, so I gotta do it manual-like. Oh, clouds. Alright, here go the solid rocket boosters. Goodbye. And, ooh. Despite this being 1.19 thrust to weight, we are actually just slightly, we were just slightly losing speed, now we're gaining it again. I don't think I have it yet. Maybe if I go to use this type again, this size again, maybe I'll put a couple of thuds. They will drain it faster, but it will give it more thrust to weight, which is important for breaking orbit. Alright, so we're up pretty high. At this point we want to pitch over to about a 45-degree heading angle, and that'll help get our apoapsis up. Oh geez, I don't even have that yet, do I? Ooh, we got lots more stuff now, look at that. Orbit. Excellent maneuver planner, those are awesome. So our apoapsis is 19 kilometers. Oof, it thinks we're going down. We're not going terribly fast, we're not accelerating quite as fast as I would like. So it's not shooting our apoapsis up very high. We're only staying about 3 kilometers ahead of where we are. Perhaps I pitched over to 45 degrees a little soon. But our time to apoapsis is rising, so that's good. There, we're now about 4 kilometers ahead of it, or behind it, I suppose. This might not be enough, though. I might need to go back and redo this with some other types of rockets. Maybe some Rockamax. We'll see. We'll have a lot of velocity to make up once we once we get to launching the Terrier motor. It's not much thrust to weight. 43, 44, 45. Well, we might. I think we'll see what happens here. It is a bit worrisome. Gosh, I didn't think that adding that bits of science would really add that much mass to it, but apparently it did. So, oh good! Even though our thrust weight is only 91, we are still accelerating. That's tremendous. Good, our apoapsis is now above 70, so we are going to be breaking the atmosphere. We're going to let this get up to about 80, and then we're going to pitch over hard, almost to the horizon. There we go. So this should slow down a bit, and our periapsis should start rising, which is good. That's what we want. So it looks like I'll be fortunate with the overkill of delta V for this flight in this stage, whereas last time I didn't have nearly enough. Good, our time to apoapsis is slowly decreasing, but it's not bad. There we go. If we fly right on the prograde vector, that'll help raise that up a bit. And hey, we are now in space. Let me see. Ah, yes. So now this line is blue. Gives us a little more information, time, and I can add a maneuver or warp to here. I'm not going to do that yet. I kind of like flying this a little more manually, watching the numbers here. Let's pitch over right to the horizon. We'll actually throttle back a bit. Actually, I'm going to kill it all together. Let it run down to about a minute. Let's see, what science do we have? Lots of science. Some science. Interesting. I didn't know I did goo up here. Oh, I did with Jebediah on one of my first times out of the atmosphere. That is right. Well, we still have lots of delta V. We might break off into a higher orbit and get far space science. If not, we could always try to go to the moon. Not sure where he is right now. Somewhere. We can find that on the map version, though. Alright, so our time to apoapsis is slowly decreasing. Not horribly, but slowly. Go away. We are slowing down a little bit, so we're going to go ahead. Close enough to 1 minute. We don't want our apoapsis to rise much. Here we can thrust down a bit, and it's actually lowering our apoapsis. That's fine. We got lots of space to play with. As long as it stays above 70,000, we will be fine. And we're still climbing up earlier from our early momentum going up. Yeah, we're still a minute 6, minute 7 away from apoapsis. Alright. Oh yeah, we'll have lots of delta V left, because this last bit goes really fast. Boop, camera change. We're now in an orbit outside of the atmosphere. Boom! Not necessarily the most circular orbit, but an orbit nonetheless that we are not going to fall back onto Kerbin. Awesome. So yeah, now you can see the line is blue. That's what the patched conics and maneuver planning will get you. Alright. We are now in space. Oh, that was a funny voice. I'm going to rotate this guy so that we are facing the sun. I want to check. Power is good. Liquid fuel, oxidizer. Okay. We do have a fair amount of delta V. Like I said, it is tempting to try to go and do a flyby of moon, or the moon. And I might. Orbital telescope. Let's see what that says. Kerbin's water. Yes, this one is biome specific. Confirms it is indeed blue. So we're going to transmit that, although we're going to watch the electrical charge and see what that does. Transmitting, of course, costs power. That's not too bad, though. They're 100%. We dropped by about 100 things. Not the end of the world, though. Our solar panel is getting power, but it's slowly climbing back up. But that did satisfy a mission. Awesome. By sending science data from around Kerbin. Close that. We can also do the magnetometer scan. And it says, I can't do it yet. It has to send out the boom. Awesome. Large magnetic field surrounding Kerbin. Its intensity decreases with increasing altitude. We'll try transmitting this and seeing. I don't think magnetometer data is too big. Oh no, that hardly took anything. Yeah, cool. Magnetometer is awesome. And that was sent. Let's go ahead and toggle that. And, ooh, no. Sometimes they're hard to click on toggle the shutter. And, wait for that to stow completely. There we go. EVA report. Woohoo! Congratulations, Valentina. You are the first person to be EVA in space. You recorded your observations about the situation just above Kerbin's water. That's also a biome-based one. So keep that data board. And now we're here. We can review the stored data. And try transmitting that. Hopefully that doesn't burn through all of our power. I don't think it will. Nah, we're good. Cool. So not much else to science or transmit at the moment. Although once we get over some ground, we will get some different things. So we're going to orbit a bit here. I'm going to let the power regenerate. So that anything else we do get, we can transmit back and we'll be fine. So I'll be back in just a minute. Alright, so we've orbited the planet, I think just about once. I've collected not much, sadly, orbital telescope, I think because I've gone over its either biomes or grasslands. There's not much on this equatorial orbit as far as biomes. Magnetometer, I thought it would do biomes as well, but it's not, at least not over Kerbin. But I've also done lots of EVAs, and I've got a bunch of those stored. 5 of them stored. Part of me wants to... I think I'm just going to hold on to them, because otherwise it drains my power resources. These 4 little solar panels are not really all that much when it comes to recharging your power systems, and this little battery pack isn't that much either. when you get bigger solar panels, you can do a lot more and transmit a lot more science. That becomes something of a choke point at the moment. But I was looking at things about doing a flyby of Moon. So for anybody who hasn't ever done this before, there's a couple different techniques. A, you can wait in orbit until you see the Moon rising, and then all you have to do is... Nope, wrong way. Is thrust yourself, ooh, prograde, and that'll extend you in the right direction. Also, we do have these things called maneuver nodes, now that we've upgraded things enough. So you want to put the Moon pretty much straight up and down, and you're going to go on the right side of your orbit. Add maneuver. And here you have your maneuver node. It's going to be these 6 icons. Prograde, retrograde, radial, anti-radial, I think. Normal, anti-normal, I think, something like that. The one we're focused on now, though, is prograde and retrograde. And we can see we have our nav ball here. This will show us how much delta V is going to be required for a given operation. And this is coming up in 7 minutes. That's not too bad. So if we prograde out, we see we're getting closer to the orbit of the Moon. And once we get out there, we should get an encounter. There it is. So this stuff, these different lines, that's what the patched conics are. Before, we didn't have those. It would just show an orbit, and then we'd hope to bump into the Moon at some point. Moon periapsis, ooh, that's not bad. Although that doesn't set us up very nicely for anything afterward. I'm trying to be conservative with this. Normally, I would go and then orbit, and then blast back, and I probably still could. But I'm trying to look for a little more efficient and least thrust here. I mean, 856 isn't too terrible, but it's a little more than half of what I have left. So we're going to try finagling these maneuver nodes a smidge. Ooh. You can also use the scroll wheel on your mouse to tick this out just by tiny increments. Ooh, oh, wow, that changed pretty drastically. Click, click. Oh, yeah, see, with one click of the mouse, we get an encounter. Another trick is to grab the maneuver node, and you can move it on your orbit. Nope. I'm trying right now for an orbit that gets us as close back to Kerbin as possible. I'm still 1,000,000 meters? 1,000 kilometers away. Not horrible, and quite an eccentric, or not eccentric, quite a... I forget what phrase that is exactly, but quite off. But I also want a shallower Moon periapsis. That one is actually going to have us striking the Moon. Moon periapsis 249. And of course, you can make alterations to your path while you're on your way out there. Periapsis 3 kilometers. And 862. That's pretty big. But because we'll be so close, we can easily get into an orbit. Yeah, that is the plan. So, we have our maneuver node set up. It's coming up in 3 minutes. It's going to be 1 minute and 5 seconds of burn. It calculates that, given the full throttle of the engine you're using. And now you find your maneuver node. So there, that's where we're going to want to be pointing, which, when we rotate around in 3 minutes, will pretty much be prograde. Cool. Once you get your pilots upgraded enough, again, you'll get prograde, retrograde. You'll also have one you can select maneuver node. Also, because I have mech jeb, go away. Yeah, I have this thing called maneuver planner. I created a node. I can create execute next node. It'll do all this for me, but not there yet. I want to do a few more, a little more manually first. Before we do this, though, we are going to do a quick save, just to make sure that we know things are good. So we're having a burn of 1 minute and 5 seconds. You want to split that on either side of your maneuver node. That's the way you do it. That's the way you even out. You do it before, it'll end up wonky. You want to do it, split it half and half. So 1 minute and 5, that's about 40 seconds? Yeah, 40 seconds before the node. So we're going to time warp just a smidge. Down till we get to this to 1 minute. Cool. And when you time warp, you want to you're pressing the arrow keys next to the M key, and you want to be a little ahead because it takes a little time for it to wind down. Alright, so we're going to hit this at about 40 seconds. That should be pretty good by pressing the Z key, or if you're Canadian, the Z key. Here we go. Full throttle burn, and you can see this guy counting down. There we go. And the closer on the maneuver node you get, the I believe the slightly more efficient things will be, and the better it will end up for your maneuver. So now we're saying this is pushing out our apoapsis pretty well. You can see our apoapsis climbing, and then it gets exponentially quicker. When this drops down to about 100 meters per second of delta V remaining needed, then we're gonna throttle down a bit to make sure we get fine control and have it line up with that. And this will count down pretty well to the last bits of maneuver of delta V required as you are thrusting. So now we're a little bit past it. Oh, I overcalculated. I did it wrong. I should have split it at 30. Yeah, I went a little soon. That's okay. We're down to the last bits. We're barely thrusting, but you can see where our orbit is. We should get an encounter. There's one. I want to get it something closer to this. I want to get the periaps down pretty low. So this shows an encounter that's shrinking, and then it comes back. Aha! Now we're closer to the orbit that we were looking for. Right now, this is going to strike the moon. Throttle up just a smidge. Okay, so our periapsis there is 6. So it's a little off because I misjudged the time. But there. That is our actual orbit. So again, the patched conics are what gives you this. The orange, which is when you're in the moon's sphere of influence, and the purple, which is afterward. It's going to be a bit of a drastic, but that's okay, because we're going to get in nice and close, and that'll give us lots of, the closer we are, well, this is already a pretty arced thing, so that's good. It'll help us, these 2 points, the moon encounter and the moon escape, you want those a bit closer, because it means the closer they are, the easier it will be to close that orbit. And I think the closing the orbit here, or achieving orbit around the moon, is going to take about 200 delta V. We still have 750 left. But that's about it for this episode. Since we're on our way escaping from Kerbin, we'll pick up in just a moment. Well, in episode, this is 9, picking up episode 10, as we get to the moon. Thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out. Hit like, if you like, subscribe, tell your friends, spread the word, etc., etc. And I'll catch you later.